Hello there sentient beings and welcome back to this channel. Now today, I decided to do a review of a game I've been constantly playing months after its beta release date, Warframe. But before I move on, there are a few things I need to clear up. Firstly, I am not sponsored or paid by Digital Extremes. I'll be calling them DE from next on. I just wanted to make this video as an appreciation sort of deal, and also to increase public awareness about this game. Actually, I think that's all I need to clear out. Can't seem to remember the other few points, but anyways, let's get on with it, shall we? Warframe is a free-to-play cooperative third-person shooter with RPG and looter elements mixed into it, like the perfect brew to the best tea in T-Town. Bad jokes aside, in this game you take on the role of a Tenno, a race of highly advanced teenagers who had just woken up from cryosleep after centuries has passed. In the time when you were asleep, humans have technologically advanced greatly after the discovery of the void. However, some denounced the quoted, new humans named the Orokin after discovering their ill intent and started their own factions, namely the Grineer and the Corpus. Soon after, a plague hits the origin system and a new faction, the Infested, is born. There is a fifth faction, but I won't mention it as it's a heavy influence in one of Warframe's cinematic quests. The universe is in quite a disarray, with wars raging not only on Earth but also on other planets in the origin system, Milky Way galaxy. So with the help of Lotus, aka Space Mom, Ordis, a butler who can be quite annoying at times, and your Warframes, you set out to fight in this war to reclaim peace in the system with various quests and missions. As you progress into the game, you will slowly unlock new weapons, Warframes, ships and so on to help you move on from the low end of the game, where enemies are ridiculously easy to kill, to the high end, where the veterans like to hang out, ending the miserable lives of the fuckhead factions. Warframe is supported by microtransactions that allow players to purchase various in-game items that are otherwise available through grinding, but more on that in a bit. But for now, let's start with the developers and where this game was years back. A fun little fact, the original concept of Warframe comes from a long-forgotten game known as DarkSector, and it was first introduced in the 2000s. 4 years later, DE has decided to reintroduce it to prepare for the 7th generation consoles, aka Xbox 360, PlayStation 3 and Nintendo Wii, but unfortunately no publishers raised a hand to help out, simply because of DarkSector's science fiction theme. Apparently at that point in time it was seen as irrelevant. Who would have thought? Anyways, in the end they did release DarkSector for PC, PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 in 2008, 4 years after its initial reintroduction, and it got mixed reviews. It was praised for the visual designs and its originality of action and weapon-based gameplay. However, it was also criticized, being compared to games like Resident Evil 4 and Gears of War, for their similar style of play and story. Later in 2012, following the success of free-to-play games, DE took DarkSector's ideas and assets, improvised some small points here and there, and released the improved game under the name of Warframe in March of 2013. DE has had multitudes of setbacks when trying to develop and publish this game. Firstly, as Afro mentioned, the theme. At that point in time, modern themed games started to become the bait as gamers are more interested in World War type games. Secondly, DE was originally a work-for-hire company, helping to develop BioShock, BioShock 2, The Homefront, Darkness, Unreal Tournament and its subsequent sequels. At this point, they were struggling with work-for-hire contracts, and to add to that, they only had 250 employees. Thirdly, DE had to self-publish Warframe simply because no publishers were interested, saying it was deemed to fail. Why? Well, for a few reasons. For one, even though free-to-play games were slowly starting to be popular, free-to-play games always had a reputation of being bad in general. From really bad graphics to fucky gameplay to content being locked up behind paywalls, yeah, the list goes on and on. For two, the same issue as DarkSector, the theme. At the time of its beta release date, there were other games that also fall under the science fiction theme and they weren't too successful. Warframe, being free to play, was thought to never see the light of day. It would see a slow start, with moderate reviews and low player count, but with updates and dedicated fans that stuck through thick and thin, Warframe has continued to improve until it has become what it is today, DE's most successful title, seeing more than 38 million players to date, and it has never stopped improving since, adding new gameplay, content, hotfixes and etc. Talk about a comeback. Well, let's hope they don't stop improving. Now, on into the next point, gameplay. As a start, players create their Tenno character, consisting of a basic armor unit called a Warframe which provides the player with abilities unique to each frame, a set of primary, secondary and melee weapons, and a ship, called a landing craft. As of now there are 4 different types of landing craft, namely the Lyset, Mantis, Scimitar and the Xyphos. Through the landing crafts console, they can select any of the available missions to them. Access to other planets and moons in the Origin system requires players to complete missions in the planets and fulfill certain requirements specified in junctions so that they can progress to other planets or locations. Other missions rotate over time as part of the game's living universe. These can include missions with special rewards and community challenges to allow all players to reap benefits if they are successfully met. Aboard the landing craft, the player can also manage all other functions for their Tenno, including managing their arsenal of equipment, customizing their warframe and weapons, crafting new equipment, and accessing the marketplace. Missions can be played alone or with up to 4 players in a player versus environment cooperative manner. Each mission is given a ranking that indicates how difficult the mission is. Missions are generally played on randomly generated maps composed of tiles of map sections. Missions have various objectives, such as defeating a certain number of enemies, collecting data from terminals without activating alarms, rescuing prisoners, or defending points on the map for set periods of time. Newer updates have added space-bound combat using arc wings, and a large open field environment where numerous bounties can be completed called the Plains of Idolon. Players can use their weapons, special abilities, and a number of Parker-style moves to navigate and overpower forces within these missions. Once completed, players are rewarded with in-game items, currency and items picked up while exploring the map. Failure to complete a mission causes these rewards to be lost. In addition to cooperative missions, the game includes player versus player content through the multiplayer conclave, but this game mode isn't too explored simply because the community feels like this game is focused more to its co-op aspect than PvP, and I do agree to that. Players and their equipment also gain experience and level up from successful missions. Equipment with higher levels can do more damage and support more mods, special cards that can be slotted into the equipment to change its attributed or provide passive bonuses and abilities. Mods are dropped by enemies during missions and may be part of the rewards, and are generally given out following a rarity distribution, with more powerful mods being more elusive to acquire. Alongside mods, players have other means of improving their equipment, including a detailed customization system, but more on that in a bit. Another type of reward are equipment blueprints, which can be used to construct new Warframe parts or weapons. Blueprints and their resulting equipment may also be purchased directly using in-game money. Players need to have specific quantities of construction materials, found from missions and their rewards, to build these items, while weapons only need a single blueprint to be completed. New Warframes typically require 4 specific parts to be constructed and then combined to form the Warframe. The player themselves gain experience through their mastery level, which otherwise locks content from players until they reach that level. Players need to gain enough experience and then complete a test to progress in mastery level. Now about the customization, here's where it gets crazy honestly, and in my opinion, why this game actually is better than most other games I know. Each complete set, the Warframe, primary, secondary, melee and pets if you have them, are completely customizable to your own liking. Would rather prefer building a Warframe specifically for a single ability? Mod for it. Want to increase the fire rate or damage or any aspect of your primary? Mod for it. Of course there are limits, but DE managed to counter this by making the limits balanced. Nothing feels too weak or too overpowered, just right at the line. If DE's vision of power is freedom, then us Tenno sure as hell have it. Back then, when I still had my shitty computer, which by the way has a GeForce GT 650 graphics card, I could play it at 60 FPS, no issues at all. Yeah, I had to tweak the settings a little bit, but it wasn't so comprehensively hard. Just some small touches here and there and boom, it's running smoother than a baby's bottom. Keep in mind, DE actually uses Evolution Engine, aka their very own engine, instead of using the familiar Unreal Engine. So it goes to show the level of optimization DE thought of. But it doesn't end there. Every node in every planet is special and different. You could enter the same node/mission twice consecutively and you will never see the same arrangements of tile sets as before, since the map itself is procedurally generated. Your own Warframes and their unique designs, from Tennogen skins to deluxe skins. Your own coloration of each components. The background soundtracks that play either in typical gameplay or in the cinematic quests. Trust me, I can list out a whole hell of a lot more, but I'll be stuck here nightless, so it's safe to say this: it's actually hard to believe that Warframe is free to play. Nothing about it screams free to play, and I sincerely mean nothing. Not one bit. You may be wondering, what is Tennogen? Well, it's player-submitted designs added into the game via voting through Steam or selection. Yeah, there was no typo there. Player-submitted. DE has always worked closely with their fanbase, and they could do something I've never seen any developer do so consistently. Listening to their fanbase. Adding, removing, buffing or nerfing content in-game. True, most of it is obviously coming from the designers themselves, but they also actively listen to the community. What they want is what they get. They would host bi-weekly streams on Twitch, named DevStream and Prime Time. From new upcoming content to reworks and stuff, that's where DE will listen to the fanbase and see our reactions, whether we would take it positively or negatively, and there's where us fanbase can see what's going on in the devs side. I can swear that literally everything DE has implemented in the game has gone through the fanbase's checks, like baggage checks in any airports. And speaking of fanbase, here's also something I've never seen in any game before. Warframe, as Afro mentioned, is a multiplayer game. Hence communication is key, and DE sure as hell didn't fail in that one. Not only is the region chat, where information or hot dank memes gets passed, you also have recruit chat where you recruit other players to join in or help you out in missions, a trade chat where you can trade exclusively rare items or content with one another, a clan chat for, well, your clan, and an alliance chat, where 2 or more clans join forces, and usually that's where the hottest, dankest memes come by. Clans can also build a dojo, a relay for clan members to just chill and hang out, and also trade if need be. Warframe does allow for global contact, so you could be speaking, trading, or recruiting someone from halfway across the world. But if there's one thing I can take away from the community, it's this: The community is connected in a way so unique, especially in the society we live in. I remembered vividly 24th of May, 2018. It's a sensitive topic, so I'll be careful with my words here. John Bain, aka TotalBiscuit, was a YouTuber who covers and does reviews for games such as Warframe and Path of Exile. In late April 2014, Bain announced he had a precancerous mass in his colon, the first indications of bowel cancer, a condition with which two of his grandparents had also been diagnosed. Within the month, Bain revealed that he had full-blown cancer and was beginning chemotherapy treatments. Bain reported in April 2015 that a CT scan showed a complete remission of the cancer. However, by October 2015, a newer CT scan showed that while the bowel cancer had been eliminated, the cancer had metastasized to his liver and was determined inoperable, with his doctors giving him a 2 to 3 year life expectancy. Bain announced the disbanding of his esports team Axiom on this news. By January 2016, Bain had also decided to distance himself from social media, while still focusing on making his game critique videos. On the 23rd of September 2016, he reported that his cancer had mutated, and a targeted treatment had shrunk his liver tumor by over 50%, from 5 centimeters to 2 centimeters. In October 2017, Bain appeared on the H3 podcast, during which he discussed at length the current state of his cancer. He described his condition as stable, meaning the cancer was still present, but not spreading, and that it was stage 4 cancer. On the 22nd of November, Bain tweeted that his chemotherapy had stopped working, but that there were other types he could try. He also noted that the cancer hadn't spread, but that its growth had started again. In mid-April 2018, Bain was hospitalized for extreme back pain, from which the doctors discovered that the cancer was growing, applying pressure on his spine. While he underwent a clinical trial to combat the spread, the doctors found that the cancer had become too resistant to medication and conventional chemotherapy would be ineffective. He was also informed that his liver was failing. The doctors transferred him to palliative care with the option to resume clinical treatment if a trial compatible with his failing liver became available. Because of this, knowing he did not have long left to live, Bain announced he was fully retiring from game criticism, believing he was no longer capable of performing his work at a level that would satisfy himself and his fans. He planned to continue his co-optional podcast with his wife Jenna, with plans for her to take over the podcast should he die. On the 24th of May, Rebecca Ford, the community manager, along with Megan Everett, senior community organizer, was hosting a stream when they got the unfortunate news that John Bain had fallen into a hepatic coma, a coma induced by large amounts of toxin buildup in the liver, and had passed on. Both Rebecca and Megan were visibly shaken by the news. Rebecca even teared up, and the stream was ended.
Actually just heard that TotalBiscuit passed away, so we're not going to stream tonight. Thank you. He was hugely influential in Warframe, starting off with his original video. We would love to bring you some Warframe gameplay later. Not this week, unfortunately, but we'll see you guys next week with some Saren gameplay. We will, of course, be reading your comments, and we just don't think it's right for us to stream tonight, so take it easy, and see you later.
On that very day, players all over the world went to one specific relay, knelt down in front of a statue as to pay respects to TB. I remembered stepping into that relay to see a lot, and I mean a lot, of players kneeling. There were so many I was actually lagging, literally 30 FPS, and it never went higher until I left. Rebecca too was there, as the Lotus, the character she voices, and I'll admit, I was awestruck. In the region chat, there was minutes of silence. Not one soul said anything, and on the 25th, my alliance decided to do something in honor of TB. We all went into our own dojos, equipped one of TB's 4 favorite Warframes, split up the entire alliance into groups of 4, and just went on into TB's favorite type of mission. It was confusing at first because I swear to God I don't know how to use TB's build, but it was fun nonetheless. Main point here is, Warframe's community, with all the dank memes, trash talkers, and some idiots here and there, are still a bunch of great online people to be with, and I do not regret all 2,050 hours I've spent in this game. Yes, 2,050 hours, and 989 hours in missions. 5 years in the making, bitches. Now earlier I said something pertaining to grinding. Well, let me clear about this. 98% of the game's content can be farmed, aka you go look for it. Yes, you can buy it if you wish with either credits, in-game currency, or platinum, real money currency. Truth be told, you can cash in if you'd like, but you don't have to. 10 Ocean items are bought with real money, but they are not compulsory. Like it doesn't improve your stats or anything. It's the mainly for looks. And speaking of buying, one thing Warframe did right is the fact that you don't have to gamble. In an episode of Danny O'Dwyer's no-clip documentary series, studio manager Sheldon Carter talks about designing the game's economy. He mentions that back when Q-Browse, virtual pets that help you on missions, were first introduced into Warframe, players could pay in platinum to randomly generate a new fur pattern and different colors for it. The price was 10 platinum or about 67 cents US dollars. We had a lever, basically, for all intents and purposes, Carter said in the interview. Players could pay the fee and then pull the lever to change their pet's appearance. The idea was to offer players the option to pay for more customization options, and then also give them the ability to trade the prints they'd received for their pets with others. Customizing cosmetics was one alternative to simply going further down the pay-to-win route of having microtransactions help players grind faster or give them rare, more powerful items. Unfortunately, the randomness element had unintended consequences. And we saw, a guy pull the lever like 200 times, Carter said. And it's just like, oh my dear God, what have we done? We've created a slot machine. And so it was a couple days I think it took us to take it out, a day and a half. That one is a big regret. He added that while the feature turned out to be extremely lucrative for the studio in this particular case, it completely went against what the intent of the Q-Browse, and Warframe itself, was supposed to be. That shows that they made this game not to profit from us, but for us to enjoy. In this game, loot boxes and slot machines are not a thing. What you want, you can buy, either from the market or from other players through trade, and really that's amazing. RNG is of course still in the game when it comes to farming for stuffs, but well, that's the fun of farming. That's the fun of looting games. The thrill, the feeling of accomplishment to get what you wanted. Or you could just buy it off other players if you're lazy like me. But I do that once in a while, not all the time. Overall, Warframe has seen its ups and downs, from being seen as an impending failure, to being the 7th most played game in Steam. It really is a feat worth mentioning, and I do sincerely hope that you guys would give this game a go. Not now obviously, cause I know some of you are going for exams and stuff, so when free time comes, do by all means try it. As of now there's 2 ways to get it, either by Steam or Warframe's official website. If you feel like adding me as a friend, by all means my IGN is in the captions as stated, and I do have a clan too, so just ask for an invite and I'll invite you in. Anyways, that's all the time I have for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and if you like this video, do leave a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. Leave down in the comments any suggestions of sorts, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out, you beautiful motherfuckers.
To build a future, strong you